Have you ever looked out at the sea and felt a sense of peace? The vast, blue expanse, the gentle rhythm of the waves. It's a symbol of freedom, of holidays, of nature's beauty. But for thousands of people, this same sea represents something entirely different. It's not a destination for leisure, but a desperate final hurdle in a race for survival. This is the Mediterranean Sea, and for too many, it has become a graveyard. Today, we're going to talk about a crisis that's happening right on Europe's doorstep, a story of sinking dreams and the alarming rise of migrant deaths. The numbers are staggering and hard to comprehend. The International Organization for Migration, or IOM, calls the Mediterranean the deadliest migration route in the world. Since 2014, over 28,000 people have been officially recorded as dead or missing in these waters, and 2023 was one of the deadliest years on record, with more than 3,000 people lost. Think about that for a second. That's like a small town's entire population vanishing into the sea. And these are just the official figures. The actual number is likely much, much higher, as many shipwrecks go completely unrecorded. These aren't just statistics. Each number was a person with a name, a family, a story, and a dream for a better, safer life. So why are so many people risking everything to make this perilous journey? The reasons are complex and deeply rooted in global issues. Many are fleeing brutal wars and conflicts, like those in Syria, Sudan, or the Democratic Republic of Congo. They are escaping persecution, violence, and the daily fear of not surviving until tomorrow. Others are driven by extreme poverty, climate change that has destroyed their livelihoods, and a lack of opportunities in their home countries. They see Europe, however distant and difficult to reach, as their only hope for safety, for a job, for a future for their children. It's not a choice they make lightly. It's a choice born of desperation. When the dangers of staying home feel greater than the dangers of the journey ahead, let's talk about that journey. It often begins long before they even see the water. Migrants may travel for weeks or months, crossing deserts and hostile territories, often falling into the hands of smugglers and human traffickers. These criminal networks exploit their desperation, charging exorbitant fees for a spot on a dangerously overcrowded boat. The vessels themselves are often barely seaworthy. Old fishing boats, inflatable dinghies, not meant for the open sea, packed with far more people than they can safely carry. Imagine being crammed shoulder to shoulder on a flimsy raft with no life jackets, limited food and water, and the vast, unpredictable sea stretching out in every direction. The conditions are terrifying. Engines fail, boats capsize in rough weather. People suffocate in overcrowded holds. For many, the dream of reaching Europe ends in a nightmare just miles from shore. One of the most tragic and well-known incidents happened off the coast of Pylos, Greece, in June 2023. An overcrowded fishing trawler named the Adriana, carrying an estimated 750 people, capsized and sank. Only 104 people survived. Hundreds of men, women, and even children from Pakistan, Egypt, Syria, and Palestine were lost. Survivors described a horrifying scene, with the boat lurching violently before flipping over, plunging hundreds into the dark water. This disaster sparked international outrage and raised serious questions. Why wasn't more done to save them? Reports suggested that European border agencies were aware of the vessel's distress for hours, yet a coordinated, large-scale rescue operation was not launched in time. This incident highlights a critical and controversial aspect of the crisis: the role and responsibility of European nations. This brings us to the complex issue of search and rescue operations. Under international maritime law, there is a clear duty to rescue any person in distress at sea. However, the reality is far more complicated. In recent years, European governments have been accused of stepping back from proactive, state-led rescue missions. Instead, they've increasingly focused on border enforcement, empowering coast guards like the Libyan Coast Guard to intercept boats and return migrants to Libya, a country where they face well-documented abuse, detention, and exploitation. This policy is often called externalization, pushing border control outside of Europe's own territory. Critics argue this approach effectively creates a deadly barrier, making the journey even more dangerous and abandoning people to their fate. Into this void have stepped non-governmental organizations, or groups like Doctors Without Borders and Sea-Watch operate their own rescue ships, patrolling the Mediterranean and saving thousands of lives. These humanitarian workers are true heroes, pulling people from the water, providing medical care and offering a lifeline. But they face immense challenges. Their ships are often impounded, their crews face legal charges, and they are accused by some politicians of acting as a pull factor, encouraging more people to make the journey. This debate is deeply polarized. Supporters say the NGOs are simply upholding human rights and saving lives, which should be the absolute priority. Opponents argue they interfere with state-led border control. Regardless of where you stand, the fact is that without these NGO ships, the death toll in the Mediterranean would be even higher. The legal and political landscape surrounding this is a maze. The Dublin regulation in the European Union states that the first EU country a migrant enters is responsible for their asylum claim. This puts immense pressure on frontline states like Italy, Greece, and Spain. They feel they are being left to manage the crisis alone, leading to political tensions within the EU. We've seen policies of closing ports to rescue ships and political rhetoric that often dehumanizes migrants, framing them as a threat rather than as people in need of help. This political climate makes it incredibly difficult to find a unified, compassionate, and effective European solution. The focus shifts from saving lives to stopping arrivals, and the human cost of that shift is what we see in the rising death toll. So, what can be done? This is not a problem with an easy fix. A truly effective solution has to be multifaceted. First and foremost, the priority must shift back to saving lives. This means re-establishing robust, state-led search and rescue missions across the Mediterranean. It means supporting, not criminalizing, the work of humanitarian organizations. Second, there needs to be a more equitable system for processing asylum claims within the EU, so that frontline countries are not bearing the burden alone. Safe and legal pathways to migration are also crucial. If people have a viable, legal way to seek asylum or work, they won't be forced into the hands of smugglers and onto deadly boats. This could include humanitarian visas, expanded resettlement programs, and other legal channels. Ultimately, we also have to address the root causes. This is the hardest part. It means engaging with international diplomacy to end conflicts, investing in economic development and stability in countries people are fleeing from, and tackling the impacts of climate change. These are long-term global challenges. But without addressing why people are forced to leave their homes in the first place, the flow of desperate individuals will continue. This isn't just a European problem. It's a global responsibility. This is a heavy topic, and it can feel overwhelming. It's easy to feel helpless when faced with a crisis of this scale. But awareness is the first step. Understanding the human stories behind the headlines is critical. We must remember that every person who embarks on this journey is a human being, with hopes and fears just like our own. They are parents trying to protect their children, young people seeking a future, individuals fleeing unimaginable horrors. They deserve dignity, safety, and compassion. By talking about this, by sharing these stories, and by demanding more humane policies from our leaders, we can help ensure that the Mediterranean Sea once again becomes a symbol of connection and life, not a final resting place for broken dreams. Thank you for watching and for taking the time to understand this complex issue. If you found this video informative, please give it a like and consider subscribing for more deep dives into the important stories shaping our world. Let's keep the conversation going in the comments below. Stay informed, stay engaged.